Hello everyone, my name is FlareBlitzed, and as you may have noticed by the title, I will be taking the rest of November off from making videos. And to simply put, the reason why I'm doing this is simply because I feel drained. I feel demoralized by the lack of cooperation from YouTube that really it really does not benefit smaller channels like myself, and it doesn't suit the kind of games that I play on the channel itself. And it feels like whatever I do at the moment is just chucked out there into the void, and it's like, hey, have a piece of this, but then it just doesn't go anywheres or anything like that. I don't know, at times it just feels really dampening when you put hours into something and it literally has no results whatsoever. I think that's the advantage of streaming, and that's because of you don't have any edits to do. It's just all out there, and you don't. With the way 2021's going, and even last year as well, it feels like channels like my own are just slowly dying out. Like other trends are coming into place, and it's usually the case where the larger streamers are, when said trends are said and done, only the larger streamers are left. And at this point in time, I feel like if I try and pursue these kind of videos in 2022, they're not going to get anywhere. Even if, let's say, I cover Eve Remake when that releases next year, or whenever that releases, I don't feel that I'm going to get any kind of traction behind those videos, simply because everybody will be flocking to the larger content creators. Because why watch this smaller content creator when you can watch a larger content creator who is more well recognized, etc., etc.? So to get to the point, I will be taking the rest of November off, with the possible exception of the release of the remake of Midnight Train, which, as of the time of this recording, the VA's auditions will be has ended. So I'm recording this on the 13th of November, and on the 10th was the deadline for all the voice auditions to be submitted, and then the developer then chooses a voice actor for each character. And that's going to be the only possible exception of videos being made for the rest of November, is if Midnight Train remake is released, because it has been confirmed by the developer that the game is now completed and ready to be released. It's just a matter of when. But also, that doesn't take into account if it's just the Spanish version completed, or if it's both the Spanish version and the English version. When I started this channel out, I didn't even cover RPG Maker games or visual novels. I covered completely different games on the channel, and I feel like trying to branch out towards other kind of games is really confusing for YouTube's algorithm to say, well, there's this channel, and this channel goes into this kind of content, but then there's this channel that goes into that kind of content. But when you try and branch out towards multiple genres of games, it's like, well, how are we supposed to recommend you when you're doing lots of different stuff? And I don't get how, like, variety game streamers get on with that sort of thing. Maybe it's just like, well, here's a generalized category that's just video games, and therefore YouTube's like, well, this channel covers all sorts of different games and stuff like that. I just feel like I've hit many dead ends now with the channel and stuff like that. I covered this kind of thing in a previous video I did a few months ago, also ranted about a particular topic, and I don't know. I'm in the space of I don't know. Not depressed or anything like that, but just in an area of uncertainty and whether or not I should continue doing this sort of stuff. Because there's always bigger fish out there that just swallows all the attention away. Not name anybody, I've already done that in the past. of one channel that just literally swallows up every kind of potential that smaller channels like mine would have if they weren't there. But obviously that's a hypothetical. And I wouldn't want that, actually. I would not want that to be of the case. Otherwise, the kind of games that we cover wouldn't have as much kind of eyes on it if the larger channels didn't exist. Other options would be to just start a new channel covering other kinds of games. But then the question would be, what kind of games would you think you would... Well, so, let me rephrase that. What kind of games would you like to see? But at the same time, if I don't enjoy the kind of games that recommend, like, let's say, I think one point somebody recommended me like a airplane simulator game. Like, I don't see myself playing that. I don't play simulator games in my spare time anyway, so, and haven't got a huge what you call interest within those kind of games. But then what other kind of things could I do? Could I try and branch out with what I'm doing already, but tackle them in a different light, rather than having a let's play covering the entire game, all about just one video on the game itself, but it's heavily edited and it's very extensive and it's incredibly thoroughly researched and stuff like that. But then that's a lot of time after the release of said game, which is where the advantage of doing a let's play of a game is whatever words would be accurately described, or even more advantageous, streaming, because then people will see upon like 5 minutes after the game's release that you have an interest within the game. I just wish that YouTube's algorithm was more friendly towards smaller streamers, smaller content creators, that puts a lot of hours in, but at times it feels like only certain categories of channels, i.e. VTubers, always gets the light from YouTube and Twitch, because that's a trending topic, and it doesn't matter what kind of games that they cover, it's always going to be the case that they're the ones who get the spotlight because it's a trending topic. Nothing lasts forever, and I understand that, but I would rather go out in a ways like I would want to make that choice because of something else coming up, and therefore I'll be able to have a more happy farewell for the channel. But it feels like I'm having a farewell because I'm forced by trends changing, and it's like saying video killed radio star, CDs removed, so not CDs removed video, but CDs made videos go out of trend, Blu-rays made DVDs go out of trend, etc, etc. There's always something else that's coming up, and I feel like that next year is going to be the start of VTubers monopolizing YouTube and Twitch. I honestly think that's going to be the case. And for channels like mine, which has the one bit of realism, which is a face, a camera, something like that, you know, a real life person, you know, a visual of a real life person, not just the voice of a real life person talking to you. But then again, there are channels out there that don't even have cameras anyways, so that's fine. But I honestly think that like the desire to watch channels like mine are just dying, and only larger content creators will be able to thrive like they've always had done. I know there'll be people out there that say that they appreciate smaller content creators because they're the ones that respond back to, let's say, let's play requests and stuff like that, but at times it feels like even with a smaller content creator covering the game, it feels like nobody else is going to be downloading the game or purchasing the game, because why would you want to purchase a game when you can just watch somebody else play it? But I think for the majority of people that watch a video, they would like to also play the game itself so that they can cover it at their own speed. Even when I made that video, just well, not announcing, but looking over the announcement of the remake and saying like maybe I have to postpone my retirement, it still feels like that. Even if I go up to that point, just nothing's gonna happen. My channel's been at a standstill for since Purgatory 2, really. Like, that's the only game this year that has really increased the potential of my channel. And when I started out this channel, I never looked at like the counter subscribers. But when you work on something for so long, you want it to progress in ways in which you never initially wanted it to go out towards. Because if I don't see people enjoying my content, then it feels like I'm not doing a service myself in order to, not in order to, but to make people's day a little bit better in any way, shape or form. And at times the lack of transparency, and I know that's not people's fault, because we all watch videos in 4 different ways, and barely anybody who watches videos actually comments on the videos themselves. But without that transparency, it feels like it doesn't matter how many views you get. It feels like it's just going out there and not getting anything back. I don't want to start crying or have any tears. I know they're the same thing. But I don't want this kind of thing to be emotional or anything like that. But it feels like that the end is becoming nearer and nearer. And it's nearer than what I would like it to be. And it's not because I want to quit, but it's just that trends changing and certain kind of content creators are always on the rise and slowly overtaking or swallowing up YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. That content creators like mine are just unnecessary. So I know this was just meant to be like a hiatus sort of thing regarding the rest of November 2021, but there's a lot to be explored in life, and because you close one door, it doesn't mean that you don't need to, so let me rephrase that. Just because you close one door doesn't mean you can't open another door, and there's a lot of other things out there that could be explored. But I think that would require a new channel started up in order to explore that and just hone in on that one thing. Like, what would you guys like to see on the channel, this channel, for the rest of however long it takes? Like, even if it could go into 2022 and trends could totally change, and I'll be all for that. But one thing I could do is recap on a lot of classical games like Eve, Mad Father, Misao, Umaniki, and do like a retrospective series where I cover the games thoroughly, incredibly thoroughly. Like do like a week of playing the game, a week of researching the game, a week of putting together the video, and then be able to edit that video and put it together and stuff like that, and then bring it out in that kind of really PhD student format where there's just so much involved and stuff like that. But to me, a lot of editing is rather overflowing. Like, sometimes a huge amount of edits would put people off. But I feel like in this stage, at this point in time, a change is not just recommended, but a necessity. Like, if you don't change on your time on the internet, then it feels like you're not making any progress whatsoever. So, I know this video hasn't been positive 1 ounce, but this needed to be done. Like, I thought about this over the past few weeks, stuff like that, when it comes to like, what can I do as a person? Like, I've got a life outside of YouTube that I want to fulfill, but even that at times feels like it's just so many dead ends, so many paths you walk, but yet every single path you walk on just takes you to a dead end. So, just recap on the only time I would come back and make a video throughout the rest of this month would be if Midnight Train Remake is released. And after that would be the return of the hiatus, but then at the beginning of December is when we'll be starting our streams to raise money for Tiltify for the Thankmas stream event that's going on, which will help. I've forgotten what company it's called now off the top of my head, but they help to donate money to raise to build houses for those in less economic developed countries which are unable to live in homes because of poverty, etc. And in those streams I hope to see as many of you there as possibly can. I was meant to set a goal of $200, but I accidentally put in one too many zeros and made it $2,000. So I hope we'll get there. Thank you so much for watching, and take care of yourselves. I just wish YouTube was fairer to smaller content creators, I really do.